Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Impact Podcast at the 2025 Annual Legislative Conference. I am your host today, Morgan Collins. I am a senior at the illustrious Howard University studying organizational communications and economics, and I am interviewing today one of my mentors, but also a very dear person to me, Karmen Jones. She is the one of the most strategic legal communicators in this field right now. She made history at the University of Tennessee as the first black woman SGA president. She's also alumni of the University of Pennsylvania and is a former communication staffer for two congressional Black Caucus members. And as of recently, you also started your own communications business.
Yeah.
So just to start off with that, what made you move towards starting your own business?
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Morgan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So for me, I had worked in two congressional offices. I had worked on campaigns locally for a while in my hometown in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've been given some great opportunities by some of my sorority sisters, and those opportunities really just led me to a career in communications and marketing and in social media management. On Capitol Hill, I worked in the digital space, so I worked on digital, but I also worked as a press secretary. So after a while, with the changes in the administration and the changes that I knew were coming up after the election, I decided to launch my own company. And also, I have a great clientele. I really build my clientele based on the community that I have, and I have a great community down south as well as here in Washington D.C.
Well, that's amazing to hear. I know, especially just coming from an entirely different state, from coming from the South. So it's just, sorry, being able to have both clientele back at home and in DC is very important. And also a second question that I wanted to ask you is just what has been the difficulties of transitioning from representing high profile clients and representatives on the congressional floor and to just having your own business and dealing with a different type of clientele?
Yeah. So for me, honestly, my clientele is more diverse now. So I've gone from just working with political or government elected officials, and now I work with folks that are therapists or churches. I have one of my clients. They're a church out in Savannah, Georgia. I would have never had that had I still been on the hill. So I'm really embracing this chapter. I think the biggest thing that you have to be able to do is multitask, and you have to be able to manage multiple client portfolios. So instead of just managing one principal voice, as we say, managing the member's voice, you are managing multiple portfolios at the same time. And so you have to make sure that you're giving FaceTime to all of your clients. When I'm down south, they want to meet in person. They want to have the lunches. They want that FaceTime. It's kind of like a vibe check, right? But in Washington, most of the time I'm okay to just hop on a Zoom call and get it done. So different regions have different needs.
Especially just with the multitasking part, especially like in this kind of age of everybody wants something different, everybody wants a different image. So how is kind of juggling that as well? Like has working on these opportunities helped you prepare for that?
Yeah. So here's the thing, everybody has their own different personal brand, and I always tell people to really think about what they want to portray or exemplify in their personal branding is everything from the way that you talk, the way that you look, the way that you present yourself, the way that your dialect is, but you have to embrace the parts of you that are the best and know how to sell that in a way. So for me, I know, for example, that my brand is being a Southern girl. I know that, but I also know that given my educational experience and my community experience and growing up in churches, I have a very clear brand that has a strong emphasis on community. So you really have to master your own personal brand. And with all of my clients, I talk about what their personal brand is and what their personal story is. I think we have to get back into um, emphasizing the power of storytelling and knowing how to tell your own story. If you can tell your story, then it'll help me be able to sell your story. Mhm.
And then my last question here, I feel like it's a little bit more abstract in a way, but as a
Mhm.
communication student and how I've been communicating with people,
Mhm.
they'll say communication is not important
Mhm.
or communication is not, necessary, especially nowadays since we have social media at our disposal. So,
Mhm.
do you feel like communications is taken for granted? And if
Mhm.
so, just how kind of do you convey that to people that no, my career is important.
Mhm.
It is absolutely needed, especially in our time where anybody can just post anything.
Yeah, yeah. So there is a misconception that communications is just posting a photo on Instagram and going. Especially if you work in social media management, that is a real job and it's a big deal. So for me, because I have my master's of public administration from UPenn, I was able to take policy work and data collection and also things like coding and coding classes, all that you can apply that to communications. If you're looking for something that's more customized, if you're looking for different ways to be analytical, when we do social media management as a digital media manager or director, you're not just posting things on social media. You have to be able to track the algorithm. You have to be able to track the engagement to know what works. And I'm sure most people know this, but social media is one of the best platforms to tell people what you want, and to get your message across. So that's been my approach. I think that social media is underrated, but I think I would like to see an intergenerational push for us all to use social media in a really big way, because whether we like it or not, AI is here and TikTok is here and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It doesn't look like we thought it was, but it's not. So
Yeah.
we have to really be able to utilize the platforms that where people are. Like, you can't ask people to come to you. You have to go to where people are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. I
Hmm.
felt that so deeply just
Yeah.
because also I'm in my digital media literacy class and we're
Hmm.
just talking about how
Hmm.
powerful uh, just social media can be,
Hmm.
the internet in general can be
Yeah.
in projecting a message. And just in general, what do you think in the future you would want to do? Are there any other ambitions that you want to
Hmm.
do?
Hmm. Yeah. So right now, I actually just produced my first one-time podcast episode, a roundtable with Black women. It's called Sisterhood in Circle, and it's with Black women who work in government politics and that are doing great things in their communities. And so I just invested in that project, and that's out on YouTube at Karmen Jones Marketing. And I right now, my main focus is helping others build community. I don't have any specific projects that I just want to, go for, but I do know that with my clientele, the clientele that I take on, each one of them are folks that are so plugged into their community, and folks that are really trying to make an impact. And like I said, I understand their stories, I understand their brands, and I understand their communities, and I really take the time out to get that FaceTime. Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Especially, and one more question.
Mhm.
How is it kind of representing a more like not recognized group of people in a
Mhm.
way,
Mhm.
just not only just black people, but in
Right.
a way of more of like southern groups of people, because a lot of
Yeah.
times a lot of people don't want to invest in that type of clientele
Mhm.
because it can
Mhm.
be either risky or they're just not seen as more like marketable in a way.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you feel about that?
I think that I have a lot of thoughts on regional elitism, but that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. But I think that with, so like I said, my clientele consists of churches, therapists, beauty brand owners. And so my goal is to help them get to a level where they are recognizable in spaces. That includes doing like paid promotion, doing strategic marketing campaigns, making sure that they're branded. I sit in with them during their photo shoots. I design their logos. I design their websites. Every single part of it is a part of like what I offer in my services. So for me, it's about getting them to a point where they are recognized, because it is doable. We're in an age where everybody wants to be an influencer, but as a person who owns a company and wants to service people, I take on people who, like I said, are interested in building community. It's an easier sell when you are making space for people in the digital space, right? If you are just on there trying to be like, I don't know, like a influencer to just show what outfits you have, but you're not giving people the resources and telling them this is how I got the look, for example, or this is how I came up with this idea. People want you to be honest and transparent on social media. They want you to be honest about your story, and that's a huge part of personal branding, and it really does work. So no matter where you are in the country, you can still build a personal brand that is identifiable. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carmen, for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Karmen Alexia. That's Karmen with a K. And you can also find me at CarmenJonesMarketing.com. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Morgan Nicole 03 underscore, and you can also just look up my name on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and y'all have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you next year at the next annual legislative conference.